The year 1964 was an important one in American history. The world was changing fast. A new president, new hopes, a nation moving forward. And in that year, a seemingly ordinary penny was minted. But there's something special about certain 1964 pennies. Some were minted without a mint mark, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, making them incredibly rare and extremely valuable. At first glance, it looks like any other penny in circulation. Copper-colored, small, with Abraham Lincoln's face staring back at you. But collectors know to look closer. The absence of the mint mark is what makes it extraordinary. It's not just a coin. It's a piece of history, a secret hidden in the smallest details of our past. You might be asking, how can a coin from 1964 be worth $1 million? The answer lies in rarity and demand. Millions of pennies were minted that year, but only a tiny fraction were struck without a mint mark. And among those, only a few survive in top condition, flawless, untouched, gleaming as if frozen in time. These are the coins that fetch shocking sums at auction. One perfect 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny recently sold for over $1 million. Just one coin, one small disc of copper, worth more than most people make in a lifetime. Now, imagine holding this coin in your hand. The weight is familiar, but the potential is extraordinary. Every detail matters. Look closely at Lincoln's face, the shielded design on the back, and the surface. It should be pristine, without scratches or wear that would reduce its value. And of course, the mint mark, or lack thereof, must be clear. No D or S. This tiny absence is what makes it rare, what transforms an everyday penny into $1 million treasure. Collectors have spent years hunting for these coins. Some find them in dusty coin rolls at their local bank. Others stumble upon them while sorting through their childhood collections. Every discovery comes with the same rush of disbelief, the sudden realization that an ordinary object could hold extraordinary value. The story of this penny is also a story of hope. It reminds us that even in the mundane, hidden gems exist. It teaches patience, attention to detail, and the thrill of discovery. Imagine telling your friends, or even your family, that a simple penny from 1964 in your drawer is worth more than $1 million. It's almost unbelievable, yet it's true, but spotting this coin requires care. Many fakes and circulated pennies exist, so you need to know exactly what to look for. The coin must be unaltered, with crisp details. The date, 1964, should be clear and well defined. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse should show precise lines without wear. And most importantly, there must be no mint mark. That tiny missing letter is what transforms it from ordinary to priceless. Even if it doesn't sell immediately, owning one is owning a piece of American history. It's the thrill of possibility every time you glance at your collection. Each penny tells a story, but this one could be the story that changes everything. $1 million coins are not just collectibles, they are legacies. They are the kind of objects that make ordinary people dream in extraordinary ways. If you're a collector, imagine the pride and excitement of holding this coin. The stories you could tell, the awe on the faces of others as they realize the magnitude of what you possess. And if you're someone who hasn't started collecting yet, this is the ultimate inspiration, that life-changing discoveries can be closer than you think. A coin worth over $1 million could literally be sitting in your pocket or lying forgotten in a jar on a shelf. Every minute you spend looking, learning, and searching increases your chances of uncovering a piece of history. The thrill is in the hunt, the mystery in the discovery, and the life-altering potential in the rarity. This is not just a penny. It's an opportunity, a symbol of luck, timing, and the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. And remember, while many pennies from 1964 are common, the no-mint mark variety is exceptionally rare. Its story is one of scarcity and desire, of the way collectors and enthusiasts prize the smallest details that make all the difference. This is why some of these pennies have been known to fetch staggering sums at auctions, sometimes over $1 million. So, next time you pick up a penny, look a little closer. Study the date, examine the mint mark, notice the details of Lincoln's face and the memorial on the back. The coin may seem ordinary, but in that simplicity lies unimaginable value. One coin can turn a simple collection into a life-changing treasure. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny that could be worth $1.3 million. And yet, it might be sitting in your pocket or drawer, completely unnoticed. The story of this penny begins in 1965, a year of change in America. While the world was focused on history-making events, the U.S. Mint quietly produced coins, but something unusual slipped through the cracks. Most Lincoln pennies from this year carry a mint mark, a tiny letter signaling where they were made. But a handful escaped with no mint mark at all. This tiny absence would make them extraordinarily rare, and in the hands of collectors, potentially life-changing. What makes this coin so remarkable is not just its rarity, but its survival. Millions of pennies were minted, yet only a fraction were carefully preserved. Most circulated, worn down by pockets, purses, and countless hands, losing their value. But a lucky few stayed pristine, almost untouched. These are the coins that can fetch prices that most of us only dream about, up to $1.3 million for the top-grade examples. Now, you might be thinking, how do I know if I have this coin? The first clue is the absence of a mint mark. On the 1965 Lincoln penny, check just below the date. There should usually be a D or S, representing the Denver or San Francisco Mint. If it's completely blank, you might be holding the rare no mint mark variety. But that's only the beginning. Next, look at the coin's condition. Collectors are ruthless about grading. Tiny scratches, discoloration, even minor wear can drastically reduce value. The highest-selling pennies are virtually flawless, with sharp details on Lincoln's profile, the words, "In God We Trust," and the date itself. A coin like this, in near-perfect condition, is not just a collector's gem, it's a million-dollar treasure. And here's where the story gets even more fascinating. These coins weren't widely publicized. For decades, collectors whispered about their existence, sharing rumors and sightings in hushed tones at coin shows. Some were discovered in jars of pocket change, others tucked away in family collections for generations, completely forgotten. The thrill is knowing that your ordinary change could hide something extraordinary. But how rare is this penny? Consider this. While hundreds of thousands were minted, experts estimate only a tiny fraction survived in top condition. Some have surfaced at auction, selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, with the absolute finest reaching that staggering $1.3 million mark. Imagine bidding against wealthy collectors, dealers, and investors, all knowing that one coin could tip the scales of fortune. You may be wondering how to spot this coin in your own collection. First, the date, 1965. Second, the mint mark, absent. Third, the strike, look for crisp, clear details. Lincoln's bust should be defined, the words perfectly legible. Even the smallest imperfection can impact the value by tens of thousands. And finally, trust your instincts. If a coin feels different, heavier, or sharper than the rest, it might be worth taking a closer look. The emotional weight of discovering such a coin is unlike anything else. Picture a retired collector, sorting through decades of coins, suddenly realizing one of them is a potential million-dollar find. The shock, the disbelief, the heart-pounding excitement, it's a moment frozen in time. Many have described it as holding a piece of history that could alter their future forever. Now, let's reset for a moment. Imagine the possibilities. You could uncover this coin in a dusty drawer, a long-forgotten jar, or even loose in your wallet. The odds are slim, but history has shown time and again that these finds happen. People have literally stumbled upon million-dollar coins while cleaning out their homes, unaware of the fortune they were holding in their hands. And the story doesn't end there. Once authenticated, the coin enters a different world entirely: auction houses, expert graders, and wealthy collectors who understand its true value. One verified 1965 no-mint mark penny, in pristine condition, can dominate headlines, selling for amounts that seem almost unreal. But it's not fiction, it's real money, real wealth, and real history. So, what should you do if you think you have this coin? Handle it carefully. Avoid cleaning it or rubbing it, as that can destroy value. Place it in a protective holder and consider consulting a professional numismatist for authentication and grading. This step could be the difference between holding a rare penny and owning a potential fortune. Every collector dreams of this moment, finding a coin that defies expectation, that transforms a casual hobby into a life-altering discovery. The 1965 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is not just metal, it's a story, a mystery, and $1 million opportunity wrapped into something smaller than your fingernail. That coin is the 2016 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that has shocked collectors across the United States and turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The story begins in 2016, when the U.S. Mint struck millions of Lincoln pennies. They looked exactly like the pennies we use every day, copper-plated zinc, small, familiar. But among these millions, a tiny handful carried a subtle error, a flaw in the minting process that elevated their value to staggering heights. Most people would never even glance twice at a penny from 2016. But for those who know what to look for, it could change their lives forever. Imagine a young collector sorting through a jar of pennies they've kept for years. One coin glints differently. It feels slightly off. The eyes catch a faint doubling on the letters. The D mint mark appears almost as if it's been stamped twice. That's the clue, the rare 2016 D. Lincoln penny with the doubling error, a coin so rare that it can sell for over $1 million in top condition. This penny's journey from the mint to your pocket is shrouded in mystery. How did such a high-value coin slip through the hands of inspectors? How did it avoid notice for years, resting unnoticed in jars, wallets, and drawers? The answer lies in the intricacies of coin production. A minting error so subtle, so easily overlooked, that only the most trained eyes, and the luckiest collectors, ever find it. Now, let's get practical. How do you identify this potentially life-changing coin? Start by examining the date and the mint mark. You're looking for the D at the base of the Lincoln Memorial side, doubled or slightly misaligned. Next, check for subtle doubling on the letters Liberty or In God We Trust. These small imperfections are invisible to most, but to a trained collector they scream value. Every edge, every detail, every tiny anomaly could signal a fortune hidden in plain sight. Consider the emotion when someone finally realizes the coin in their hand could be worth $1.4 million. The disbelief. The heartbeat racing. That simple penny, which may have been used to buy a cup of coffee, now represents unimaginable wealth. It's not just a coin, it's a dream realized, a story waiting to be told, a life forever changed by a moment of discovery. And the excitement doesn't stop there. Imagine the thrill of showing this coin to a professional grader. The tension as they scrutinize every detail. The validation when they confirm it's authentic, it's rare, it's real, a one-in-a-million discovery that can command a price no one could imagine just a few minutes before. Every coin tells a story, but few have a story this dramatic, this rich in potential. Even if you've searched your drawers countless times, the 2016 D. Lincoln penny could still be hiding, quietly waiting. Millions of these pennies exist, but only a tiny fraction carry the error. And yet, in that tiny fraction lies the power to transform an ordinary life into a millionaire's reality. Now, think about how simple it is to start. Grab a jar of pennies, focus on the 2016 coins, look closely at the mint mark, the lettering, the tiniest doubling. Don't rush. Be meticulous. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million penny is invisible to the untrained eye, but life-changing to those who see it. Collectors across the U.S. have experienced this thrill. Ordinary people, ordinary collectors, finding the coin of a lifetime in a pile of seemingly worthless change. A coin that proves extraordinary value often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone patient, observant, and lucky enough to notice it. But what if I told you that this unassuming coin could be worth $1.5 million? That right there, in your pocket or drawer, could be the key to a life-changing fortune. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But this is the story of the 1979 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so elusive, that collectors have been chasing it for decades. The 1979 penny was minted during a time when coins were produced in the millions. Most are worth just 1 cent. But hidden among the billions, there exists a version without a mint mark, a tiny symbol that identifies where it was made. The absence of that mark is what transforms this coin from common to extraordinary. For years, coin enthusiasts thought it was just another penny. Then, collectors started noticing anomalies. Coins missing the mint mark were turning up, coins that were literally worth millions of dollars in pristine condition. Now imagine the moment someone discovers this penny. The thrill, the disbelief. You've spent years collecting, checking, examining, and suddenly, you realize that one coin in your hand could change your life. For those who have found the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition, prices have soared, reaching staggering figures. Some have reportedly sold for over $1.5 million. One coin. One tiny piece of history. One ticket to unimaginable wealth. So how can you identify this penny? First, look at the date, 1979. That's the year every collector will immediately recognize. Next, check the mint mark. Most pennies will have a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But the coin we're talking about, the valuable, life-altering penny, has no mint mark at all. It's subtle. You might need a magnifying glass to be sure. The absence of that tiny letter is what makes it priceless. But there's more. Experts recommend checking for a few subtle signs that authenticate a true 1979 no-mint mark penny. The color should be bright copper, with minimal wear and perfectly preserved details on Lincoln's profile. Any scratches, dents, or discoloration can drastically reduce its value. This isn't just a coin, it's a treasure that survived decades, perfectly hidden in plain sight. The history behind it is just as mysterious. Why were some pennies missing the mint mark? Some theories suggest minting errors during production, when coins were struck but somehow escaped the usual stamping process. Others believe it was a rare anomaly caused by a mishap in the presses. Whatever the cause, it created one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in modern U.S. history. And like all great treasures, only a few have survived in top condition. Collectors across the United States have searched in pocket change, piggy banks, drawers, and coin rolls, hoping to stumble upon this elusive penny. The excitement is palpable because anyone could have it. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned collector or someone who has never cared about coins before. The possibility that a coin worth millions of dollars is sitting unnoticed in your home is what makes this discovery so captivating. Imagine the emotional impact of finding one. There are stories of people who discovered theirs tucked away in a box of old coins, never suspecting the fortune hidden among ordinary cents. The joy, the disbelief, the calls to experts, and the verification process, it's almost cinematic. And yet, all of this revolves around a coin so small, so familiar, that it could easily be overlooked. You might be wondering how to increase your chances of finding one. Experts suggest focusing on circulation from 1979, checking rolls that came directly from banks or long-forgotten collections. Look for pennies with minimal wear, perfectly preserved edges, and that unmistakable absence of a mint mark. The hunt is part of the thrill. Each coin examined is a potential gateway to a fortune. Even if you don't find one tomorrow, understanding its value changes how you see every penny. Ordinary coins suddenly become mysterious, intriguing artifacts with the potential for life-altering worth. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just money. It's history, luck, and possibility all wrapped into one tiny, copper disc. So, take a moment. Open that drawer, sift through that jar of pennies, examine them carefully. The extraordinary often hides in plain sight, waiting for the moment it's discovered. This isn't just a story about a coin. It's about the thrill of discovery, the magic of chance, and the reality that wealth can appear when you least expect it. But what if I told you this ordinary-looking coin could be worth over $1 million? That's right. One tiny 1982 Lincoln penny, without a mint mark, has stunned collectors across the country with jaw-dropping auction prices reaching $1.6 million. And most people have no idea it's hiding in plain sight. The story begins in 1982, a year when the U.S. Mint was making a historic change. They were transitioning Lincoln pennies from their traditional 95% copper composition to a zinc core with a thin copper coating. A mistake in production led to a rare anomaly: pennies minted in the old copper style when no one expected them. These copper 1982 pennies without a mint mark are incredibly scarce. Fewer than a handful have ever surfaced in top condition. For decades, coin collectors have hunted them obsessively. The thrill of discovery is intoxicating because every time one appears, it sells for eye-popping sums. Imagine finding a coin in your change worth more than a house, more than a car, more than most people make in a lifetime. That's the reality of this penny. Here's the secret to spotting it. First, examine the composition. A standard 1982 penny without a mint mark is mostly zinc with a copper plating. But the rare $1 million version is 95% copper. The weight difference is subtle but measurable. Copper pennies are slightly heavier. Next, look at the color. Copper has a warm, reddish hue compared to the pale, brassy tone of zinc pennies. These visual clues, combined with professional grading, confirm whether you're holding something extraordinary. The journey of these coins is shrouded in mystery. Many were lost, forgotten in jars, drawers, and piggy banks, while a few lucky collectors noticed a faint difference and held onto them. Over time, these pennies surfaced at auctions and private sales, astonishing everyone with their value. One sold quietly for $1.6 million, proving that what seems ordinary can be extraordinary. Now, imagine the emotion of holding this penny in your hand, knowing it's not just metal, it's history, rarity, and unimaginable value. The anticipation of a potential find can be life-changing. That's why collectors urge vigilance. Check every roll, every loose coin, and don't dismiss any penny as insignificant. Your dream coin might be hiding among the ones you pass over every day. Even the experts admit that finding one is almost like lightning striking twice. But the payoff is monumental. When a 1982 no-mint mark copper penny appears, it commands the attention of collectors worldwide, sparking auctions that feel more like epic battles than sales. The stakes are high, the tension is palpable, and the rewards can be millions of dollars. And here's the final piece: you don't need insider access to hunt one down. Anyone can check their change, old coin collections, or family heirlooms. Look for the weight, the reddish color, and the absence of a mint mark. Compare it carefully against standard zinc pennies. A magnifying glass and a scale might be all you need to confirm whether you've stumbled upon a treasure beyond imagination. Time and again, ordinary people have discovered extraordinary fortunes by paying attention, by looking a little closer, by daring to believe that the impossible is possible. This penny isn't just a coin, it's a testament to patience, knowledge, and a little bit of luck. But what if I told you this ordinary coin could be worth $1.70 million? This isn't a story about someone else's luck, it's about the 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin so rare, so elusive, that collectors spend decades hunting for it, and yet, it's hiding in plain sight, in wallets, jars, and drawers across the country. The story begins in 1993, a year when the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. Most bore a tiny D or P mark, the signature of the Denver and Philadelphia mints. But a handful slipped through without this mark, creating a coin that is nearly indistinguishable to the untrained eye, yet absolutely priceless to the right collector. What makes this penny truly remarkable isn't just its rarity. It's the mystery surrounding how it came to be. Did a printing error occur during a late-night shift at the mint? Did a machine malfunction just long enough to leave these pennies unmarked? No one knows for sure. And that uncertainty only adds to the allure, turning a simple piece of copper into a coveted treasure that could command millions of dollars at auction. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other 1993 penny. But here's what you need to look for. First, check the mint mark location, just below the date on the front of the coin. If there's absolutely no D or P, you might be holding a genuine 1993 no-mint mark penny. Second, examine the overall quality. High-grade coins, especially those with no scratches or discoloration, are exponentially more valuable. Third, subtle differences in the lettering or relief can indicate authenticity. A skilled numismatist can spot these almost invisible clues instantly. Every coin tells a story. Imagine the hands it passed through, the pockets it rested in, the drawers it hid inside. And now, it could be yours. Collectors have paid over $1 million for this coin, and in perfect condition, Some sales have reached the jaw-dropping $1.7 million mark. Each sale resets the stakes, proving that a small, forgotten penny can hold unimaginable value. But finding one isn't just about luck. It's about patience, knowledge, and attention to detail. Learn the markings, the texture, the weight. Hold pennies up to the light and inspect them closely. Look for imperfections that others might ignore. Many collectors have stumbled across their fortunes in places as ordinary as a jar of loose change on a kitchen counter or a forgotten piggy bank. Even more astonishing is the emotional impact of discovering such a coin. Imagine realizing that what you held in your hand, something you'd considered ordinary for years, could transform your life. The disbelief, the adrenaline, the sheer excitement, it's a feeling most people chase their entire lives. And for those who find it, the reward isn't just financial. It's the thrill of uncovering a hidden piece of history, a tangible connection to a moment frozen in time. Remember, the 1993 no-mint mark penny is rare, but it is out there. Every coin you examine, every batch of pennies you sort through, brings you one step closer to possibly discovering a life-changing treasure. Keep your eyes sharp, trust your instincts, and never underestimate the power of a single, seemingly ordinary penny. Time and again, collectors have held their breath, discovering a coin that could turn decades of saving into a fortune. And now, with the right knowledge and a little bit of luck, you could be next. Every drawer, every jar, every old wallet is a potential gateway to unimaginable wealth. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that could instantly change your life. A coin worth $1.8 million. One small, unassuming penny that most people overlook every day, yet it carries a fortune hidden in plain sight. This is not a story about luck. This is a story about a mistake the U.S. Mint made decades ago, a mistake that could make an ordinary collector unimaginably rich. In 1969, the United States was changing. The moon landing was just around the corner, the country was in turmoil, and yet, somewhere deep in a quiet minting process, a rare error occurred. Most pennies minted that year bore a small D or S marking, Denver, San Francisco, but a tiny fraction slipped through without any mint mark at all. These coins were meant to be ordinary, to be forgotten, to disappear into the endless shuffle of change. But the truth is, this tiny penny is far from ordinary. The 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a ghost among coins, a treasure that the world has only recently begun to recognize. Collectors describe it as life-changing, breathtaking, and nearly impossible to find. And they're not exaggerating. In top condition, these pennies have sold for as much as $1.8 million. That's right, a single coin, smaller than your fingernail, worth more than a house in many parts of the country. How did this happen? How did such a massive fortune hide in the folds of ordinary coins for decades? It all comes down to a subtle mistake in the minting process. The 1969 pennies were struck with an extremely high-pressure die, creating a faint doubling effect on the numbers and letters. Most of these errors were destroyed or corrected before they ever left the mint, but a few escaped. Tiny anomalies that make all the difference between a worthless penny and $1 million coin. If you own a 1969 penny without a mint mark, your heart might already be racing. But before you dream of luxury cars and financial freedom, you need to know exactly what to look for. The key is in the details. Examine the date closely. The 1 and the 9 should appear slightly raised, almost like they've been echoed by a ghost image. The lines in Lincoln's bust may be subtly sharper, the texture of the coin slightly different from ordinary pennies. Collectors call this doubling. But it's more than that, it's a signature, a secret left behind by history. Even seasoned collectors have been fooled by this penny. Many have overlooked it in rolls of change, only to discover decades later that it was worth millions. The thrill of discovery is unmatched. The moment your eyes catch that subtle doubling, your pulse quickens, and you realize the coin you've held unknowingly could make you wealthy beyond imagination. You might be thinking, sure, but where do I even start? The first step is patience. Look through every penny you find, especially those from 1969. Coins in excellent condition, uncirculated or barely worn, are the most valuable. Anywhere can drastically reduce the value. And when you think you've found a potential candidate, magnify it, study it, compare it with images of verified 1969 no-mint mark pennies online. Accuracy is everything. Even one misstep can turn a potential million-dollar discovery into a common penny. Collectors who have stumbled upon these coins describe a wave of emotion unlike anything else. Some report shaking hands, racing hearts, and disbelief. Imagine holding something that could change your entire life, something so rare that even experts scramble to verify its authenticity. Every scratch, every mark, every tiny detail becomes a piece of the puzzle that separates fortune from forgetfulness. It's not just about money. Finding a 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is about connecting with history. This coin survived tumultuous decades, passed through countless hands, and quietly waited for someone like you to notice it. It is a tangible link to a moment in time, the country on the brink of a lunar landing, society in the midst of change, and yet, amidst it all, a mint worker's unnoticed error created one of the rarest coins in the world. Some people spend their entire lives hunting for rare coins, never knowing they might already have one sitting in a drawer. The suspense of the search is part of the allure. The moment you realize, perhaps too late, that the treasure you've overlooked could have been yours. And with the 1969 no-mint mark penny, that thrill isn't theoretical. It's real. It's waiting. And every year, more collectors wake up to the staggering possibility that this small, forgotten coin could make them millionaires overnight. Experts caution against rushing. Every detail matters. The date, the mint mark absence, the subtle doubling, the coin's overall condition, these are the elements that determine whether a penny is a common collectible or a million-dollar treasure. And while the odds may seem slim, history proves it's worth the search. People have discovered these pennies in jars, in old collections, even in couch cushions. One minute, it's a penny. The next, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Imagine holding that coin in your hand, feeling its weight, understanding its rarity. It's a mixture of disbelief, excitement, and awe. Some collectors have wept at the sight of their discovery. Others have quietly celebrated in disbelief, unsure if it's real. But one thing is certain, the 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just metal. It is a symbol of opportunity, of patience rewarded, and of the unexpected miracles that can be hidden in the most ordinary places. So, if you have jars of coins, drawers full of forgotten change, or even just a handful of pennies, take a closer look. Study them. Examine the dates, the marks, the subtle doubling. You could be holding something extraordinary. And remember, this isn't just a coin. This is history, luck, and fortune all wrapped into one. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Because the 1984 Lincoln penny, one that millions of people spent without a second thought, has been found selling for life-changing money, with the rarest examples shooting toward that unbelievable $1.1 million mark. And the most shocking part? Most people still don't know why. It's hard to believe that a coin minted in the millions could hide such a secret. But the story of the 1984 penny begins with a quiet mistake inside the Denver Mint. A mistake so small, so easy to miss, that even seasoned collectors let it slip past their eyes. Somewhere that year, during the thunderous rhythm of coin production, a die was created with a flaw, an error that distorted part of Lincoln's portrait in a way no one expected. And while machines pressed thousands of pennies every minute, that flawed die slipped into the system. Just like that, a tiny accident turned an everyday cent into a once-in-a-generation treasure. Now imagine the suspense of it. Think of how many pockets this coin has traveled through. How many hands it slipped across at gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines, maybe even your own. Decades of circulation have worn down the telltale signs on most of them, making the survivors rarer and more valuable than ever. Every time collectors uncover one, the excitement feels electric, because each discovery reminds us that a single cent, something practically worthless today, can suddenly transform into something worth genuine, life-changing money. For some people, this coin has become the proof that million-dollar miracles still exist in the real world. Before we go further, stop and reset your imagination for a moment. Forget the idea of a penny. Picture instead a mystery object, small, copper, silent, holding a secret that almost no one notices until they lean in close enough. That's the 1984 D penny. The magic of this coin isn't in its metal. It's in the invisible story baked into its surface. A story that only appears when you know exactly what to look for. So, what makes this coin so valuable? The answer centers on one dramatic error known among collectors as the doubled ear. On the rarest 1984 pennies, Lincoln's ear appears doubled, like a faint second outline, just below and behind the original. This happened when the die used to strike the coins was manufactured incorrectly, leaving a doubled impression that carried on to every penny it struck. Most people never notice it. Even some collectors dismiss it. But that tiny doubling, barely thicker than a hairline, is what turns an everyday penny into a prize worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in the highest grade discoveries, pushing toward that $1 million mark. Take a breath, because here's where your part of the story begins. If you want to know whether you've found one of these rare treasures, you don't need special equipment. A basic magnifying glass, steady lighting, and patience are enough. Hold the penny at an angle. Look closely at Lincoln's ear. The doubling will look like a shadow or a ghost image, a second curve where there should be only one. Not on the date, not on the letters, but on the ear itself. If you see it clearly and sharply, and if your coin was minted in Denver, meaning it has that tiny D under the date, you may be holding something few people on Earth have ever touched. Take another small mental reset. Picture a collector at a kitchen table. The room is dim, the air still. They're doing exactly what you're doing, checking a penny. They rotate it once, twice, thinking there's nothing there. Then the angle shifts. The light hits it just right. And suddenly their breath catches. There it is. A second ear. In that moment, that coin goes from pocket change to destiny. Because collectors know that high-grade examples of the 1984 D doubled ear penny have surged in value, with market sales shocking even experts. One coin in remarkable condition sold for well over $200,000. And as the surviving population shrinks, expectations grow. Some believe the perfect specimen, if it's ever found, could push past $1 million without hesitation. Think about what that means. A coin created with a mistake. A coin nobody cared about when it was struck. A coin that might have been tossed in a car cup holder, dropped in a tip jar, or slipped between sofa cushions, now carrying a value that can change a person's entire life. That's the drama behind this penny. It's not just money. It's the possibility that the world still hides treasures for the people brave enough to look for them. Now here's the part that makes collectors lean forward. Most errors from the 1980s were caught early. Quality control was strict. Mistakes were usually melted down or destroyed. But this one slipped through and kept slipping. That's why today, 4 decades later, every remaining 1984 D doubled ear penny feels like a message sent from the past. An accident left behind for whoever has the patience and curiosity to find it. And somewhere out there, the finest surviving example is still waiting. Maybe it's in a forgotten roll of pennies in someone's drawer. Maybe it's sitting in a jar of spare change that hasn't been touched for years. Maybe it's in a cardboard box in the back of a closet. The unknown is what makes the hunt so irresistible. As we reach our final stretch, reset your attention one more time. Let go of everything you've heard and imagine this coin not as a collector's object but as a symbol. A symbol that small things still matter. That everyday life still hides extraordinary secrets. That fortune doesn't always look shiny, it sometimes looks like a penny you almost ignored. And now, with everything you've learned, you know exactly how to identify the rare 1984 D doubled ear penny. You know its mysterious backstory, its dramatic rise in value, and the shocking truth that a penny can be worth far more than $1 million. All that's left is for you to look. Carefully. Patiently. Because the next person to discover one of these rare treasures could rewrite their entire story in a single moment. But tucked between those ordinary copper coins is something so shocking, so unbelievably valuable, that it could change your life in a single heartbeat. Because today, we're talking about the 1973 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin that, under the right conditions and with the right errors, has been reported to sell for as high as $1.2 million. And the truly terrifying part? Most collectors say they never even noticed the signs until it was too late. Picture this. Somewhere in America right now, there's a person who tossed away one of these pennies without even a second glance. Maybe at a gas station counter. Maybe into a tip jar. Maybe it slipped from their pocket into a couch cushion. And if they only knew what they had, they'd be sick to their stomach. Because this little piece of copper carries a mystery that has haunted collectors for decades. The year was 1973. Minting machines in Philadelphia were running at full speed, producing millions of pennies every single day. Nothing unusual. Nothing suspicious. Nothing to suggest that a tiny mechanical error, a barely noticeable slip, would create one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever reported. But that's exactly what happened. And the rumors began almost immediately. Stories of coins struck on the wrong planchet. Coins with doubled features. Coins with missing details. Coins so sharp and so perfectly preserved that experts didn't have the words for how they survived 5 decades untouched. Here's where it gets interesting. Most 1973 pennies with no mint mark are common. Very common. You could find dozens in a single jar. But there is a specific combination of mistakes, qualities, and conditions that transforms one ordinary cent into a $1 million treasure. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll walk right past it. So here's the first thing collectors learned, and this is the part where people gasp when they hear it. The most valuable examples discovered so far were struck with unusually strong die pressure, leaving razor-sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat. The edges looked crisp, almost like they were carved instead of struck. When you tilt the coin under a bright light, the surface almost shines like proof quality even though it wasn't a proof coin. That's the first sign. But that's not the only clue. Somewhere in the mint, a small batch of planchets, blank discs meant for other denominations, may have been accidentally fed into the penny presses. Imagine a 1973 penny struck on a bronze planchet that's slightly lighter or heavier than it should be. Imagine one struck on a foreign planchet used for another country's coins. These accidents aren't supposed to happen, but when they do, the value skyrockets into the hundreds of thousands, and yes, even the $1 million range. Take a moment and think about how many people in the 1970s had one of these in their pockets and never knew. How many parents gave one to a child for lunch money? How many ended up in parking meters, toy machines, candy jars? The idea is almost painful. Because all it takes is one incredible error, sitting unnoticed for 50 years, just waiting for someone who finally knows what to look for. Now, let's reset your attention for a moment. I want you to imagine finding a coin like this yourself. Feel that moment. You're going through an old box of keepsakes, maybe something you haven't opened in years. You pull out a dusty plastic bag filled with pennies from decades past. Your hands shake a little as you look through them, one by one. Then, suddenly, one coin feels different. It looks sharper, cleaner, heavier. The date 1973 stares back at you. No mint mark beneath it. And something inside you whispers, "What if this is the one?" If that emotion hits you, don't ignore it. Because here's how you can identify the rare version of the 1973 no mint mark penny. First, check the weight. A normal 1973 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours is lighter or heavier, that alone could signal an off-metal strike, which is one of the most valuable errors in the hobby. Next, look for doubling. Use a magnifying glass and examine the date, the word Liberty, and the phrase "I in God we trust." If the letters look doubled or shadowed, you may be staring at a major double die error. Then, check the overall strike. Are the details unusually sharp? Are the rims clean, thick, and perfectly formed? These are signs of a rare and high-quality minting error that can push the price into the $1 million range. Reset your attention again, because this next part is crucial. Condition is everything. A flawless, mint-state coin is where the highest values come from. We're talking about coins that have never been scratched, never been rubbed, never spent even a single day in circulation. These are coins that somehow, miraculously, survived half a century without so much as a fingerprint. That's why collectors get emotional about these discoveries. It's not just the rarity. It's the survival story. It's the idea that a simple penny defied time, luck, and the odds, and lived long enough to become a life-changing treasure worth over $1 million. But even worn examples can bring serious money if the error is strong enough. So don't assume yours is worthless just because it spent years in a jar. Every collector who ever found one of these valuable coins started with the same thought. This is probably nothing. And every time, they were wrong. Let me reset your attention once more, because this is where the story becomes almost unbelievable. There are collectors who spent years searching for one of these rare 1973 errors. Some searched online. Some searched coin rolls. Some searched through tens of thousands of pennies, hoping, dreaming, chasing that one miracle coin. And when even one of these coins surfaces at auction, the bidding becomes electric. People with deep pockets go to war for it. Prices climb higher than anyone expects. And in those moments, a simple little penny becomes $1 million marvel. So here's the question. Why not you? Why shouldn't you be the next person to uncover one of these mysterious errors? You've got jars of old pennies. You've got drawers, boxes, envelopes, old coffee cans filled with change. And inside one of them, mixed with the most ordinary coins you've ever seen, could be the rarest penny you'll ever hold. Check everything. Weigh your coins. Study the details. Don't assume anything. Rare coins don't announce themselves. They hide. They wait. They show up where you least expect them. And the thrill of finding one, the instant rush when you realize you're holding something worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million, is something you will remember for the rest of your life. We're talking about the mysterious, shocking, and life-changing 1977 Denver Mint Lincoln penny. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you've been around coins long enough to know that value isn't always loud. Some treasures hide quietly. And the 1977 penny is one of those chilling examples. At first glance, it looks like any other penny from the late 70s. Worn copper color, Lincoln's familiar profile, and that bold D sitting under the date. Ordinary. Innocent. Forgettable. But beneath that ordinary face lies a secret, a mistake, a flaw, a quiet glitch in history that turned a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The story begins during a chaotic time inside the Denver Mint. Machines were being recalibrated. Old dies were being replaced. Workers were moving fast to keep up with production. And somewhere in that frenzy, an error slipped through. Not a huge, obvious, in-your-face error. No. Something subtle. Something that only reveals itself when you know exactly what you're looking for. A rare combination of misaligned dies, unexpected doubling, and a striking pressure inconsistency that produced just a handful of extraordinary 1977 pennies. Coins so unusual that years later, when collectors stumbled across them, auction rooms fell silent. These weren't just errors. These were miracles. Now let's reset for a moment. Because it's one thing to hear about $1 million coin, and another thing to imagine finding one in your own home. Picture this: you open a dusty drawer, pour out a pile of forgotten pennies, and there it is, a slightly off-looking 1977 And your heart starts pounding. That's the kind of moment people dream about. The kind of moment that changes mortgages, changes futures, changes everything. So here's what separates the normal from the extraordinary. First, the doubling. On the rare 1977 worth huge money, the date and the mint mark show signs of clear double die characteristics. Look closely at the 1, the 9, the 7, and especially the final 7. On the valuable ones, you'll see a shadow, a ghost image, a second outline. Not machine doubling, real, strong spread. Then there's the mint mark. The D should have thickness in the inside curves, as if it was punched slightly twice before the strike locked it in. If you see that, your hands should start shaking. Reset again. Because if your heart isn't racing yet, it will be now. Imagine someone discovering one of these pennies at a flea market. 50 cents for a jar of random coins. And hidden inside that jar? A 1977 D with the unmistakable doubling. They send it for grading. Weeks pass. The envelope arrives. The grade is high, shockingly high. Bids explode online. And before they know it, a simple copper penny becomes a life-altering prize, selling for hundreds of thousands, even reaching into million-dollar territory. Ordinary Americans. Extraordinary finds. Back to the coin. Another sign to look for is the strike pressure. These rare errors show deeper lines in Lincoln's jacket and sharper edges in the lettering on the reverse. United States of America will look bolder, slightly thicker than usual. The Lincoln Memorial pillars may appear uneven, as if the die shifted at the last moment. These are the subtle markers that separate the valuable from the everyday pocket change, and here's where the emotional punch hits. Because every coin collector knows the feeling of searching. The late nights at the kitchen table. The magnifying glass. The hope. The disappointment. The thrill of the unknown. For some, collecting coins isn't a hobby, it's a doorway. A doorway to stories, to history, to dreams of discovery. And this coin, this tiny 1977 D penny, represents the ultimate dream, the possibility that something so small, so overlooked, could be worth over $1 million to the right collector. Let's reset one last time. Breathe this in. Somewhere in the United States, right now, someone is living their normal life with no idea they own one of these rarities. A grandfather's old jar. A dusty box found during spring cleaning. A childhood collection tucked away in a closet. And inside it, a coin waiting to reveal its secret. So if you're here, if you're listening, don't just watch, take action. Grab your coins. Pull out every 1977 penny you have. Look for that D mint mark. Check the date for doubling. Examine the thickness, the shadows, the little imperfections that are anything but imperfections. Because collectors have already paid eye-popping amounts for the best examples of this coin, some reaching values no one ever thought possible. But what if I told you that one of those forgotten pennies, one struck in 1972 with no mint mark, has been reported to sell for up to $1.4 million? And what if I told you that people just like you have pulled these life-changing coins from coffee cans, junk drawers, old jars, and pocket change without ever realizing what they had? Let me take you back for a moment. It's 1972. The mint is running at full speed, producing billions of Lincoln cents. Copper blanks are being fed into presses. Dies are working overtime. And somewhere in that chaotic storm of metal and machinery, a mistake happened. A small, almost invisible misalignment. A doubling of the design that no one noticed. A tiny error hidden so perfectly that it would take decades for collectors to understand how rare it really was. That tiny mistake is what separates an ordinary penny from $1 million treasure. If you feel your heartbeat rising just a little, good. Because this story only gets stranger from here. People assume life-changing coins come from treasure hunts, from rare collections, from locked boxes. But the truth? The most valuable 1972 no-mint mark penny ever found came from a place so ordinary, so shockingly simple, it almost sounds like a movie script. A man sorting through old pocket change discovered one coin that looked off. Not damaged. Not dirty. Just different. He held it up, angled it under a lamp, and there it was. The unmistakable doubling on the obverse. His tiny discovery eventually led to a penny that collectors now say could reach over $1 million in the right grade, and here's where your attention needs to snap back in. Because you might be wondering, how do I know if I have this exact penny? How do I spot it before someone else spends it or tosses it into a jar? Here's the key. You're looking for what collectors call the 1972 doubled die obverse. No mint mark, struck in Philadelphia. The doubling is bold, dramatic, and instantly recognizable once you know where to look. Start with the word Liberty. On the rare variety, each letter looks almost like it's been printed twice. Then examine the date, 1972. The numbers should show strong, clear doubling, not the faint blur of machine doubling. Finally, the motto "I in God we trust" will reveal the most obvious doubling. True doubled dies look thick, separated, like two impressions sitting side by side, And let me reset your attention again, because many people hear the phrase doubled die and assume it's a tiny detail. But on this coin, the doubling is massive. You can spot it with the naked eye. No magnifier required. People have found them while watching TV, sorting change at the kitchen table, or emptying their pockets after grocery shopping. And when they do, the shock, the sudden realization that they're holding a piece of minting history, hits like a wave. Now imagine that moment. Imagine finding a coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million, in the very jar of pennies sitting on your shelf right now. That's why this coin has become a legend in the hobby. Not just because of its value, but because of the dream it represents. That hope that any ordinary person can stumble onto something extraordinary. But the story of this coin takes another turn. Back in the early 70s, most people didn't know what a doubled die was. They spent them without thinking. They tossed them into cash registers, vending machines, arcade games. The fact that even one survived in pristine condition feels unbelievable. The fact that a few survived in mid-state red luster feels downright miraculous. And those are the coins that command jaw-dropping prices today. Coins that look untouched by time, glowing with original mint shine, graded by experts who confirm every millimeter of genuine doubling. Reset your attention again, because here's something collectors overlook. There are multiple 1972 doubled dies, but only one is truly rare, known as die number 1. This is the one worth the life-changing money. This is the one that gets the headlines, the ones collectors whisper about at shows, the one that experienced treasure hunters still dream of finding. If the doubling isn't strong, if it's mild or minor, you may have a different variety, still valuable, but not the one that could push towards seven-figure territory. And now the emotional part. Think about all the years this coin has traveled. Passed from hand to hand. Hidden in drawers. Carried unknowingly in pockets. Think about the millions of people who touched one and never realized it. And then think about you, right here, right now, becoming someone who does realize it. Someone who knows what to look for. Someone who understands the science. Someone who might just make the discovery that others missed. Picture yourself searching your coins tonight. You dump a handful of pennies on the table. Copper glints under the light. You start checking, Liberty, the date. In God we trust. Your pulse picks up each time a coin looks promising. You know that nearly all of them will be ordinary. But you also know it takes only one. One coin. One moment. One tiny double detail that sets your life on a completely different path. That's what keeps collectors searching. That's why this hobby is filled with stories of discoveries that sound impossible until they happen. And the most inspiring part? This coin isn't locked away in museums. It's not controlled by the wealthy. It's out there in circulation. Hiding. Waiting. Blending in with billions of others. If the rare 1972 double-die penny could make its way into the hands of ordinary people in the past, it can absolutely make its way into yours. So the next time you empty your pockets, the next time you grab a handful of change from your car, the next time you sort through that dusty jar you've been ignoring for years, remember this: someone out there will eventually find another one. Someone out there will hold a penny worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million. And there's no reason that person can't be you. But what if I told you that a 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin millions of Americans have touched, has sold for shocking prices, with the right errors pushing its value toward the kind of life-changing payout people only whisper about, even reaching as high as $1.5 million in reported private sales? And what if one of those coins is quietly sitting in your home right now? It sounds unbelievable. It sounds impossible. But the truth is, some of the rarest, most valuable coins in American history don't announce themselves with gold, silver, or shine. They hide. They disguise. They blend into the background like a treasure waiting for the right pair of eyes. And the 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of those mysterious survivors. A tiny copper-coated clue to a story very few people know. To understand why this penny is so special, you have to go back more than 40 years. Picture the United States Mint in 1980. Machines roaring. Sheets of blank planchets rattling through steel funnels. The pressure to produce billions of pennies was enormous. Workers moved fast. Deadlines were tight. And somewhere in that overwhelming rush, mistakes slipped through. Not ordinary mistakes, not the kind you'd shrug off, but rare, unusual, barely detectable errors that collectors today consider the ultimate jackpot. Somewhere among those billions of coins, a handful of 1980 Lincoln pennies were struck with dramatic misalignments, doubled features, off-metal planchets, and deeply unusual die errors. Most people never noticed them. The coins were too small, too plain, too familiar. But a few sharp-eyed collectors began to report strange finds: pennies with doubled dates, pennies struck slightly off-center, pennies with ghost-like images creeping along the rim. Over time, those tiny whispers turned into real discoveries, and the value of these rare examples skyrocketed. Look at your own memories for a second. Think about all the times you've tossed a penny aside. Think about the pockets, the coffee cans, the junk drawers. How many times have you handled a coin from 1980 without ever looking closely? Because that's where this story becomes emotional, almost haunting. The idea that a once-in-a-generation mistake, a single tiny survivor, could be hiding among the most boring coins in America, waiting for the right person to recognize it. But before you run to your change jar, you need to know exactly what to look for. That's where things get interesting, because the valuable 1980 no-mint mark pennies all share specific clues. The first is doubling. Flip your coin under a good light and look carefully at the date. On rare error examples, the numbers 1-9-8-0 show strong separation lines, like a faint shadow carved into the steel by accident. This happens when the die strikes the coin twice, slightly out of alignment. If you see clear doubled edges, especially on the 9 or 0, you're looking at something extraordinary. Next, check the lettering: Liberty and In God We Trust. Some of the highest valued discoveries show doubled letters so crisp you can see the extra thickness without a magnifier. Don't rush this part. Let your eyes travel slowly over the surface. Old collectors say the coin will talk to you if it has something special. They're not wrong. Now look at the rim. A perfectly centered coin is normal. But a coin that's uneven, with extra space on one side and a squeezed-in rim on the other, may be an off-center strike, another valuable error that collectors pay huge money for. And then there's the most shocking error of all: off-metal strikes. A tiny number of 1980 pennies were struck on the wrong planchet, thinner, lighter, or slightly different in tone. If your penny feels different in your hand, or sounds different when tapped lightly on a table, you might be holding something priceless. Take a breath. Because this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. These rare coins don't just sell for a few hundred or a few thousand. The right combination of errors, in the right condition, has pushed valuations into the stratosphere. We're talking serious money, the kind of million-dollar conversations collectors only dream about. And while public auctions show impressive 5-figure and 6-figure sales, private collectors have reportedly paid as high as $1.5 million for pristine, dramatic error examples. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth $1 million, created by accident, unnoticed for decades, hiding in plain sight. That's not just a discovery. That's a miracle in copper. And here's the twist that resets everything you thought you knew about pocket change. This coin doesn't look rare. That's the point. It looks normal. Ordinary. Forgettable. The kind of coin someone might leave on a sidewalk without caring. And yet, beneath that plain appearance, the possibility of extreme rarity hides just millimeters deep. Imagine the feeling of realizing you've held something worth a fortune for years. Imagine the rush of adrenaline when you finally see that doubled date or off-center rim. Imagine the moment you learn that your casual little penny, the one you almost ignored, is suddenly the most valuable thing you've touched all week, all month, maybe all year. Collectors describe that moment with one word: electric. Because it doesn't just change your day, it changes how you see every coin after it. Maybe that's why these stories spread so fast. Because they don't just offer hope, they offer possibility. The possibility that treasure isn't buried underground or hidden in museums. Sometimes it's in your kitchen drawer, hiding behind a rubber band, resting under a pile of receipts. So take another look at your 1980 pennies. Hold them under the light. Listen to the sound they make. Pay attention to the tiny details most people overlook. Because every legendary discovery in the coin collecting world begins the same way, with someone deciding to look just a little bit closer. And who knows? Maybe the next great discovery, the next life-changing find, won't be in a coin shop or at an auction. Maybe it's already in your possession, waiting for the moment you finally recognize it. But what if I told you that one of these pennies right now, somewhere out there in the United States, has already sold for over $1.6 million? And what if the next one could be yours? Most people walk past their loose change without thinking twice. But collectors, people like you, know the truth. The rarest treasures are often the ones hiding in plain sight. And the 1979 D penny has a story so mysterious, so unexpected, that even experienced collectors have been stunned by how valuable the right one can be. The strange part? This isn't a coin that was supposed to be special. It was just another Denver minted cent produced in massive numbers. Billions of them. Billions. Yet somewhere within that ocean of copper-coated zinc lies a tiny handful of mistakes, errors so dramatic, so unbelievable, that they turn a 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. No one realized it at first. These coins slipped quietly out of the mint, mixed in with regular change, carried in pockets, tossed in jars, scattered across decades. A secret waiting years to be discovered. And when the first collector spotted one, the shock rippled through the community like a lightning strike. Because the rare 1979 D penny that commands up to $1.6 million isn't just rare, it's almost impossible. A perfect storm of minting errors and condition. And if you know what to look for, you might just be the one to uncover the next one. Let's reset here for a moment. Because this is where the story gets even stranger. Imagine a coin error so bold that you don't need fancy tools to spot it. No microscopes. No special lighting. Just your eyes. That's exactly what makes this penny so legendary. Some of the most valuable 1979 D pennies feature dramatic doubling on the date, or the word liberty, clear, powerful doubling from a hubbing mistake at the mint. Others were struck on the wrong planchet entirely, like being stamped on a leftover 95% copper blank from earlier years or even on foreign coin stock. And in the rarest cases, these errors combine with immaculate condition to create a coin worth more money than most people will see in their lifetime. But condition is everything. The $1 million examples were preserved almost perfectly. Sharp edges. Clean fields. No scratches, no pocket wear, no discoloration. A coin that somehow survived decades without damage. A miracle, honestly. And that's why collectors get chills when they hear that another one might still be out there. Let's reset the tension again. Picture yourself holding a handful of pennies and your thumb stops on one from 1979. You flip it over. You see the tiny D mint mark under the date. And your heart starts to race. Because now you know what to look for. Here's how to identify the 1979 D penny that could change your life. Step 1. Check the date and lettering for doubling. On the valuable varieties, the doubling is bold, thick, and visible to the naked eye. The 1, the 9, the 7, the 9, all appear doubled. Liberty looks almost shadowed. In God We Trust may appear thicker than normal. Step 2. Check the weight. A correct 1979 penny should weigh 3.1 grams for copper or 2.5 grams for zinc. But the rare wrong planchet errors weigh differently, usually around 3.1 grams because they were struck on older copper blanks. If you see the wrong metal, that's a massive clue. Step 3. Inspect the surface. $1 million coins have crisp details. You can see each line of Lincoln's coat. The rim is sharp. No dents, no dings, no green spots, nowhere from circulation. Even a tiny scratch can drop the value dramatically. Step 4. Compare the strike. The rare valuable ones have a strong, deep strike, clean, sharp details on Lincoln's face, beard, and shoulders. Weak strikes are usually common coins. Now pause for a moment and imagine this. You're at a garage sale. You're counting change. And without even knowing it, you just touched a penny that could pay off your house, wipe your debt, and leave you with a story you tell for the rest of your life. That's the kind of suspense the 1979 D penny brings. That's why collectors, especially those between 30 and 70, are obsessed with it. And here's the part that keeps people awake at night: most of these rare coins haven't been found yet. Only a few have surfaced. Only a tiny number have ever been certified at the level needed to bring million-dollar results. Which means that somewhere, maybe in a forgotten coffee can or an old banker's box, another one is waiting, reset again. Think about your own coin jar. Think about the pennies you never bothered to check. Think about the ones sitting in old purses, glove compartments, dresser drawers, or tucked inside boxes of childhood keepsakes. That's where the last discovered million-dollar example came from, an ordinary American home where nobody even realized the treasure they were holding. And the next one? It could come from someone exactly like you, because that's what makes this era of coin collecting so magical. Regular people, people who never expected to find anything special, are suddenly uncovering coins worth hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars. This isn't just a hobby anymore. It's a nationwide treasure hunt, and the rewards are unlike anything the mint ever intended. So before you go about your day, take one more moment. Picture that humble little penny. A coin nearly everyone overlooks. A coin struck in a year nobody talks about. And yet, that simple 1979 D Lincoln cent might hold a secret capable of changing someone's life forever. Because yes, this humble 1991 D Lincoln penny has been reported to sell for as much as $1.7 million. And tonight you're about to learn why. Picture this. A man in his late 50s is sorting through the loose change that piled up over years on top of his dresser. He's retired, living quietly, not expecting much from life anymore. One evening, he notices a penny that feels different between his fingers. The color, the weight, the way the light hits it. At first, he laughs it off. But curiosity wins. He looks closer. Then closer. A faint doubling, a slight misalignment, a tiny minting detail almost invisible to the untrained eye. Within weeks, that unremarkable penny turned into a life-changing discovery. That story, whispered inside coin forums and auction rooms, ignited the mystery behind the 1991 D. And ever since, collectors have wondered, how many more of these extraordinary mistakes are still out there? If you just felt a chill, that's because the possibility is real. The U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies in 1991, but a handful slipped through with rare, shocking errors. The kind of errors so dramatic they force experts to question what happened behind closed doors at the Mint that year. Some believe the wrong planchets were used. Others suspect early die misalignments. A few even think the Denver Mint accidentally created transitional strikes, rare coins made from metal types that weren't supposed to be used. And in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes can turn pocket change into million-dollar treasures. Take a deep breath, because now the real suspense begins. What exactly makes a 1991 D penny worth seven figures? Let's break it down. Collectors discovered specimens with extremely sharp details. Proof like fields on a circulation coin, a shine so clean it shouldn't exist on a penny released to the public. Then there were examples struck on bronze planchets long after the U.S. Mint discontinued them. Others showed dramatic doubling on Lincoln's ear, the date, the mint mark, and even the motto. These are the coins that made seasoned experts stop mid-sentence. These are the coins that pushed auction prices beyond anything expected for a modern penny. Reset for a moment. Think about this. How many times have you handled pennies without a second thought? At the gas station, the grocery store, digging through your car's cup holder. Any one of those moments could have been the moment. Because the real secret to finding the 1991 D treasure is simple. The rare ones don't scream for attention. They whisper. Quietly. Patiently. Waiting for someone who knows what to look for. So what should you look for? First, examine the metal color. If your 1991 D penny has a deep, reddish, almost old-style bronze shine instead of the usual light zinc color, don't ignore it. Next, check the weight. A normal 1991 D penny weighs 2.5 grams. but a rare transitional bronze strike weighs about 3.1 grams. That fraction of a gram is the difference between pocket change and a miracle. Then check the details. Look closely at Lincoln's ear. Some rare versions show clear doubling, smooth, sharp, unmistakable if you hold it under a bright light. Also inspect the date and the D mint mark. Any doubling, any stretching, any ghost-like shadow of a second strike could be a significant error. And finally, look at the edges. On rare planchet errors, the rim may appear slightly thicker, more pronounced, or uneven, another reset. Imagine you're back in that moment, holding a penny that suddenly doesn't feel like all the others. Your fingers sense it before your mind does. The coin seems heavier. The rim feels stronger. The color looks richer. This is where so many million-dollar discoveries begin, with a slight difference your instincts can feel before your eyes confirm. That's the magic of rare coins. Your senses wake up, your pulse rises, and suddenly, you're part of a treasure hunt bigger than anything you planned. Now let's add the backstory that fuels the legend. In 1991, the Denver Mint was operating at full speed. Billions of coins, non-stop production, tight schedules, older equipment still in use alongside newer technology. Under pressure, mistakes happen. Dies slip. Wrong blanks get mixed into bins. Experimental leftover planchets from earlier years sometimes remain unnoticed. For the mint, these are headaches. But for collectors? They're gold. They're hope. They're the tiny cracks in the system where million-dollar miracles are born. And as word of the 1991 D errors leaked through the numismatic community, demand skyrocketed. Collectors who once ignored modern pennies started hoarding them by the roll. Online auctions saw bidding wars that stunned even veteran dealers. And yes, claims of seven-figure private sales began circulating, leaving everyone wondering how a coin so common could suddenly be worth $1.7 million. But here's the truth. When a coin is both mysterious and extremely rare, the market decides its value. And the market decided these rare 1991 D pennies were treasures. Before we move toward the end, reset one more time. You are sitting at your kitchen table. You empty a jar of old coins. They scatter across the surface, clinking softly. You begin to sort them, one by one. 99 times out of 100, nothing happens. But then, there it is. A 1991 D. You feel a quiet pull to look closer. The detail seems sharp. The color different. Your hands start shaking just a little. That is how every incredible discovery starts. With a simple moment, a simple penny, and the courage to believe it might be something more. Because here's the secret. You don't need special equipment. You don't need years of training. You just need patience, good lighting, and the knowledge you now have. Anyone, absolutely anyone, can find one of these million-dollar coins if they're willing to look closely enough. That's what makes this hobby so magical. Life-changing finds aren't locked away in museums or vaults. They're hiding in pockets, drawers, glove compartments, and coffee cans all across America. And the most thrilling part? The next discovery hasn't been made yet. It could belong to a collector. It could belong to a farmer. It could belong to a cashier. Or it could belong to you. All it takes is one moment. One penny. One mistake struck more than 30 years ago that somehow survived every hand, every pocket, every cash register, until it arrives in yours. So the next time you spot that little 1991 D under the soft glow of a lamp, pause. Look closer. Examine the color, the weight, the doubling, the edges. Because the coin that changed someone else's life is still out there. And it might just be waiting for someone exactly like you to pick it up. But what if I told you that one specific 2015 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny has stunned experts, shaken collectors, and whispered a secret so shocking that most people still don't believe it? Stay with me, because this story might just change the way you look at every penny you've ever touched. It all begins with a rumor. A rumor that started quietly, almost accidentally, when a collector in Colorado stumbled onto a penny that didn't feel right. At first, he brushed it off. After all, the 2015 D penny is one of the most common modern coins in U.S. history. Billions were minted, billions circulated. But something about the strange shimmer under the light pulled him back in. And that tiny moment of curiosity, that extra glance, became the beginning of $1 million in the making. Because what he found wasn't a normal coin at all. Now, before we dive into what makes this penny worth more than most homes, let me reset your attention for a moment. I want you to imagine holding a coin between your fingers. Feel the ridges. Feel the weight. Think about all the hands it may have passed through. Grocery stores. Gas stations. Pockets. That everyday journey could have included a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the owner never knew it. Why is the 2015 D penny suddenly the center of a mystery? It comes down to a rare combination of hidden errors. Not one, not two, but a stacking of mistakes that never should have left the Denver Mint. Error collectors obsess over these things: off-metal strikes, doubled dies, transitional planchets. But finding all these traits in a single modern coin is almost unheard of. But every now and then, the mint slips. A planchet from an older composition ends up in the wrong bin. Dies misalign for just a few seconds. A doubled impression goes unnoticed. And suddenly, a miracle coin exists. And this particular penny, the one that reportedly sold privately for nearly $1.8 million, showed an error so wild that even veteran graders had to blink twice. Imagine a 2015 penny struck on the wrong metal entirely. Lighter, glossier, reacting differently under a magnet, and delivering that unmistakable ringing sound when tapped. And then add a double die effect across Lincoln's eye and the word trust. When experts saw the combination, they knew instantly, this was no ordinary mint error. This was a one-in-a-generation mutation. But here's where the story gets even more surreal. Another collector claimed he found a second one. And suddenly collectors everywhere began checking their change like detectives hunting a ghost. Imagine the adrenaline, flipping through jars, scanning rolls, digging through coin buckets. Because history has shown again and again that when one rare error escapes the mint, there's always a chance, even the smallest chance, that more are still out there. Let me reset your attention again, because this next part matters if you're hoping to find one yourself. If you ever come across a 2015 D penny and want to know whether you've just hit the jackpot, here's exactly what to look for. First, hold it under a bright light and tilt it slowly. Look especially at the words "I in God we trust" and "Liberty." A doubled die on these letters will show faint shadow-like doubling, almost like a second image hovering behind the first. It won't be blurry, it'll be crisp, sharp, like the engraving was accidentally stamped twice. Second, check the surface color. A rare wrong planchet error will give off a silvery, slightly metallic hue unlike the standard copper-coated zinc. It may feel lighter in the hand, sometimes noticeably so. Third, listen for the sound. Tap it gently against another coin. A normal 2015 penny gives a dull clack. But a rare off-metal strike rings in a strangely bright tone, almost like tapping a tiny bell. And finally, check for thickness. Many error planchets end up slightly smaller or thinner. Measure if you can. Compare with a normal penny. Even a tiny difference can mean a massive payday. Now imagine you're holding that coin, the one with all the signs. Imagine your heart pounding. Because you know collectors have paid hundreds of thousands for similar errors. And rumor has it that one of these exact 2015 D error pennies reached nearly $1.8 million in a private sale. $1 million for something someone once dropped into a vending machine without a second thought. That's the magic of modern coins. The hidden value, the secret potential, the life-changing discovery hiding inside an object we ignore every single day. Let's reset for a moment. Think about your own home. Your own drawers. Your change bowl. Your glove box. Any one of those could be holding a rare penny that slipped through your fingers years ago. This hobby isn't just about collecting. It's about hope, the thrill of wondering what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And the truth is, the Denver Mint has made mistakes before. Big ones? So the idea that more of these extraordinary 2015 D era pennies are still floating around isn't just possible, it's likely. That's why collectors across the country are quietly searching, scanning, and hunting for the next $1 million coin. Because imagine the story: you find a penny worth more than your car, your bills, maybe even your home. You tell your family, your friends. You hold up that tiny piece of copper-colored metal and say, "This changed my life." That's not fantasy. That's the reality of coin collecting at its most exciting. So tonight, maybe for the first time ever, take a deeper look at the pennies you have lying around. Not the silver dollars, not the half dollars, not the old wheat cents everyone already knows to check. Look at the modern ones, the ones everyone else ignores. That's where the real surprises hide. That's where life-changing discoveries begin. Because the next person who finds a rare 2015 D-era penny might not be a lifelong collector or a dealer. It could be someone just like you, someone curious enough to look twice at something the rest of the world overlooks. But what if I told you that one of these plain brown coins, a 1977 D Lincoln penny, has been reported to sell for as much as $1.1 million? And that right now, at this very moment, one of these life-changing coins could be hiding in your pocket change, waiting for the right set of eyes to discover it? Let that sink in for a moment. A penny, worth more than a house. A penny, worth more than most people earn in a decade. A penny that could flip a person's life completely upside down. Now let's go back. The year is 1977. Denver mint presses were running non-stop, punching billions of Lincoln cents day and night. Nothing unusual. Nothing rare. Nothing special. At least, that's what everyone believed. But deep inside that mint, among the rumble of machines and the scent of hot metal, something went wrong. Something tiny. Something nearly invisible. A mistake so small it slipped past every inspector, every quality control check, every employee watching the conveyor lines. A mistake that created one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever recorded. Some people call it the ghost error. Others call it the $1 million anomaly. But the truth is, very few collectors even understand how to look for it. And that's why this story feels almost unreal, because these pennies were released into circulation like any other coin. They went into cash registers, into pockets, into coin jars, vanishing into everyday life. And somewhere out there, one survived in nearly perfect condition. Imagine the moment someone finally spotted one. A coin roll hunter opening their last roll of the night. A collector pouring out a jar they hadn't touched in years. A hobbyist scanning coins under a small desk lamp, tired, ready for bed, until suddenly, something looked off. Something didn't match. Something that made their heart pound so hard they could hear it. But what exactly makes this 1977 D penny worth a staggering $1 million? What transformed a basic copper-plated coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure? It begins with the strike. The $1 million example wasn't struck like a normal 1977 D. It was hit by misaligned dies, creating details that are sharper in some areas, blurred in others. Lincoln's bust appears almost ghostly. The rim is unusually wide on one side, narrow on the other. The mint mark shows signs of a dramatic overpunch, the kind of double-stamped distortion you'd only see if the mint worker had to reposition the punch by hand. And the surfaces, mirror-like, almost proof-like, as if the coin had been struck under higher than normal pressure. Add to that a nearly flawless condition, the kind of shine and crisp detail you only get from a coin that went straight from the mint into a collector's hands, and suddenly you're looking at a Lincoln cent that is nothing short of a unicorn. Here's the part that could change your life. These 1977 D-era cents didn't stop at just one. A very small number of them made it into circulation. Not many, but enough that it is absolutely possible one is still out there, unnoticed, sitting in a jar or tucked away in a forgotten wallet. First, check the mint mark. The D should show doubling, distortion, or an odd shadow. Look closely, sometimes it appears stretched, almost melted on the edges. This is your first clue. Second, tilt the coin under a light. If the surface flashes like a mirror instead of the usual dull copper tone, pay attention. Missing clarity? Ordinary coin. Strange reflective fields? That's the kind of anomaly that can push the value into the hundreds of thousands. Third, examine the rim. A typical penny has even borders. But the rare $1 million 1977 D shows an uneven strike, one side thinner, the other thicker, almost like the design is drifting toward one direction. That subtle misalignment is a key indicator that you're looking at the error everyone wants. And finally, condition. This is everything. A normal penny is scratched, nicked, and worn. The $1 million example? Razor sharp details. Crisp beard lines on Lincoln. Strong lettering. No wear on the high points. A grade that makes expert collectors stop breathing for a moment. Now picture yourself finding one. Think about that feeling, holding something so small, so quiet, yet powerful enough to erase debts, retire early, or rewrite your entire future. Millions of people sift through pocket change every day, but only those with knowledge, patience, and curiosity ever uncover one of these hidden treasures, and that's why this hobby is different. It's not just collecting. It's treasure hunting. It's searching for the one coin that slipped past machines and experts, yet ended up landing in the hands of a normal person. Someone who never expected to become rich from a single penny. The 1977 D is exactly that kind of coin. A miracle that shouldn't exist but does. A mistake that turned into a fortune. A penny that transformed into over $1 million simply because one collector recognized what others ignored. And here's the most inspiring part. These discoveries don't happen to the wealthy, or to full-time professionals. They happen to everyday people, plumbers, teachers, grandparents, anyone who takes a moment to look down at the change in their hand. One decision, just to look, can be the difference between tossing away a fortune and keeping a treasure that changes everything. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, check? When you dump out that old coffee can of coins, check? When you buy a soda and get change back, check? You're not just collecting pennies. You're searching for a tiny piece of history worth more than gold itself. Imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand, feeling its weight, noticing the familiar copper glow. Now, what if I told you that the very coin in your pocket could be worth over $1 million? That a simple 1982 Lincoln penny, often overlooked, has been quietly hiding a secret that could change your life forever. It sounds unbelievable. A penny. Worth more than a luxury car. Worth more than a house in some states. And yet, coin collectors across the United States have discovered that these 1982 no-mint mark pennies, in perfect condition, have fetched as much as $1.2 million at auction. The thought alone is enough to make anyone search their drawers, their jars of loose change, with a new sense of urgency. The story of this penny begins in the early 1980s. The United States Mint was transitioning from the classic copper composition to a zinc core, a change that created a very rare anomaly. Some pennies from that year were struck without the traditional mint mark and in limited quantities, making them nearly invisible to the casual collector. Most people never knew they existed. They were ordinary pennies in appearance, easy to dismiss, and yet they carried the potential to make someone unimaginably rich. The mystery only deepens when you consider how many of these pennies are actually out there. Only a few pristine examples have survived, and their scarcity drives their value into the millions. Coin dealers have described the thrill of holding one as almost surreal, a feeling like touching history, like holding a secret that the world has somehow forgotten. And for those who are lucky enough to find one, it's more than just money, it's a story, a treasure, a dream turned real. Now, if you're wondering how to identify this remarkable penny, listen closely. First, look at the year, 1982. Then, check for the absence of a mint mark. No D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia. This alone is crucial. Next, examine the metal composition. Some 1982 pennies are 100% copper, while others are zinc-plated. The true $1 million coins have a solid copper composition. You might need a scale to measure its weight. The copper penny is heavier, a subtle but essential clue. The details matter. Inspect the surface under light. A genuine 1982 no-mint mark penny in top condition has sharp details on Lincoln's profile, crisp lettering, and no wear. Any scratches, dings, or discoloration will reduce its value dramatically. It's the perfection that turns an ordinary penny into a collectible worth millions. And remember, even the most experienced collectors can overlook one hidden among jars of loose change or old coin rolls. Imagine the thrill, digging through a box of pennies, expecting the mundane, and then spotting it. The gleam of copper, The perfectly struck date, the missing mint mark. Your heart races. Could this really be it? Could this single penny be worth $1.2 million? Stories have circulated of collectors who discovered these coins tucked away in family drawers, forgotten wallets, or old coin collections. Some have sold them for astonishing sums, their lives instantly transformed. The journey of this penny is more than just metal and mint marks. It's a tale of chance, timing, and discovery. The mint never intended these coins to become treasures. They were simply part of the year's production. And yet, decades later, they are the stuff of legends, whispered about in collector circles, hunted by those who dream of life-changing discoveries. For those who want to search their own collections, patience and attention to detail are key. Don't rush. Study every 1982 penny carefully. Look for weight, color, and the absence of a mint mark. Compare it to known examples online or in coin guides. Even if you find one that seems promising, having it authenticated by a professional can be the difference between a simple curiosity and $1 million asset. The excitement, the suspense, and the possibility of holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure in your hand, it's unlike anything else. And here's the most astonishing part. The next one could be anywhere. Hidden in a jar on your counter, in a drawer, or in the loose change you carry in your wallet. It's a reminder that sometimes, the extraordinary hides in the most ordinary places. That a coin no bigger than your fingertip could hold the power to transform a life, to create stories of wealth and wonder that echo for decades. So take a closer look at every 1982 penny you find. Study it. Appreciate it. Because in that unassuming copper circle, history and fortune collide. And if you're patient, observant, and lucky, you might just uncover the secret that collectors have been chasing for years. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But to someone who knows the secret, it could be worth over $1 million. That's right, a tiny, copper disc minted in 1981, completely missing its mint mark, has shocked collectors across the country. One discovery, one careful eye, and a lifetime of ordinary change could transform into unimaginable wealth. The story of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny begins with a printing mistake so subtle that it escaped notice for decades. Unlike other pennies from 1981, which proudly display a small D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, these coins were somehow struck without any mint designation. Experts call them no-mint mark errors, and their rarity is mind-boggling. Only a few thousand may exist, scattered across the United States, hidden in rolls of pocket change, piggy banks, and old collections. Imagine the journey of one of these coins. From the press at the Philadelphia Mint, it slipped past inspectors, indistinguishable at first glance from millions of ordinary pennies. But this imperfection makes it extraordinary. Coin collectors describe the thrill of holding one as almost indescribable, a tangible connection to history, rarity, and the sudden possibility of life-changing fortune. Finding a 1981 no-mint mark penny isn't just luck, it's knowledge. To identify it, start by checking the obverse, the front of the coin. Lincoln's profile should be crisp and centered, as on any regular penny. Then look carefully below the date. Most 1981 pennies have a small D for Denver, but if there's nothing, no mark at all, you've found something special. The lack of a mint mark is subtle. It takes patience, good lighting, and a keen eye. Don't rush. Sometimes the difference is nearly invisible, but for those who can spot it, the reward is staggering. Collectors who have sold these pennies report jaw-dropping numbers. One pristine specimen reportedly fetched more than $1.3 million in a private sale. That's right, a coin that could have been forgotten in a drawer or dropped in a jar of loose change turned into a life-altering windfall. The idea that something so small and unassuming could hold such power is what keeps the hunt alive for enthusiasts of all ages. But there's more than just monetary value. Holding a no-mint mark 1981 Lincoln penny is like holding a secret piece of history. You're touching an era that survived decades of circulation, an imperfection that turns ordinary metal into something extraordinary. It's a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, and that the ordinary can become legendary with the slightest twist of fate. Now, here's the trick. the coin must be authentic. Fakes and reproductions exist, and they can be convincing. Examine the weight and color. A real 1981 penny has that familiar reddish-brown copper tone. Check the edges, smooth, uniform, without any added markings or tampering. If in doubt, have it certified by a trusted numismatic organization. This step is crucial, because when a coin could be worth millions of dollars, authenticity is everything. Every time you pick up a roll of pennies, consider this. One coin could be hiding its incredible secret, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize it. Maybe it's a coin handed down from a relative, a penny stuck under a sofa cushion, or simply one you find in change at a store. The thrill isn't just in the discovery, it's in the knowledge that you could be the one to unlock its story. Imagine telling friends that a coin you casually held for years turned into $1 million treasure. The disbelief, the excitement, the sheer astonishment, it's the kind of story that every collector dreams about. And it's exactly why collectors keep searching, examining, and holding on to even the most mundane-looking coins. Because sometimes, the most ordinary penny is hiding a fortune beyond imagination. The 1981 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny reminds us that history isn't always neat or predictable. Errors happen. Mistakes slip through. And when they do, they create opportunities for discovery, wealth, and a connection to the past that money alone can't explain. It's a thrill, an inspiration, and a mystery wrapped into a single coin. So next time you find a penny, don't dismiss it. Hold it up to the light. Look for the details. Look for the absence of that tiny letter beneath the date. A moment of patience could lead to something extraordinary. Because among all the pennies you've ever seen, one could be hiding the key to millions of dollars. One could be the coin that changes everything. But for those who know the truth, it's a treasure that could turn ordinary savings into unimaginable wealth. The story begins decades ago, in 1977. The U.S. Mint was churning out millions of pennies for everyday use. Most were standard, unremarkable. But in the shuffle of presses and dies, a rare anomaly emerged. Some pennies were struck without a mint mark, something seemingly trivial, but for collectors, a monumental discovery. These coins slipped into circulation unnoticed, tossed into jars, pockets, and cash registers. For years, this penny was just another coin in the countless streams of change flowing through America. But hidden within its copper surface was a secret that only the most discerning eyes could spot. Imagine the thrill of realizing that something so small, something you could lose on a sidewalk, could be worth millions. What makes the 1977 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny so rare? The answer lies in its production. During this year, nearly all pennies were minted with a D for Denver or a S for San Francisco. But a tiny number emerged without a mint mark, an error born from a rare misstep in the minting process. And while most people never notice, this mistake transformed an ordinary penny into one of the most sought-after coins in the country. Now, identifying this coin is where the story gets even more exciting. First, check the date, 1977. Next, look closely at the area beneath Lincoln's bust. Most pennies from this year carry a small D for Denver. But on this rare coin, it's missing. No mark. Nothing. Just a smooth, clean space where a mint mark should be. That absence is the key. But the magic doesn't stop there. Condition matters. Coins that have survived decades in mint or near mint condition are incredibly rare. Every scratch, every dent reduces the value dramatically. But a well-preserved 1977 no-mint mark penny? That's a coin that could fetch over $1 million in today's market. Imagine the possibility. A coin you've had in your change jar, suddenly worth enough to buy a luxury car, a vacation home, or fund a dream you've never dared to imagine. Collectors describe the experience as a mixture of shock and awe. Finding one of these pennies is like stumbling across a hidden room in your own house filled with treasures. And the most incredible part? These coins aren't locked away in some museum vault. They're out there, waiting for discovery. Waiting for someone like you to recognize their value. Over the years, reports have surfaced of private sales reaching staggering sums. Some coins have traded hands for amounts approaching $1 million, and in certain cases, even exceeding that. One coin, in particular, stunned the numismatic world when it sold for over $1 million, proving that these seemingly ordinary pennies are anything but. You might wonder, how could I ever find one? The truth is, they're hiding in plain sight. In old collections, forgotten piggy banks, or loose change in drawers. And the thrill of searching for them is almost as exciting as finding the coin itself. Every roll of pennies, every jar, every pocket change could hold the key to a life-changing discovery. Here's a tip collectors swear by: examine coins under bright light and use a magnifying glass. Pay attention to the area beneath Lincoln's bust. Most people glance over it, never realizing the treasure that might be hiding there. Patience is essential. The payoff, however, is extraordinary. One lucky find, and your entire perspective on pocket change could change forever. Think about it: a coin minted in 1977, carried through decades of American history, surviving countless hands and transactions, and still retaining its extraordinary rarity. Its journey makes it more than money. It's a piece of history, a tangible connection to the past, and a potential gateway to wealth that most people only dream about. Even seasoned collectors get chills when they spot one. The combination of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue creates a tension unlike anything else in coin collecting. And the best part? You don't have to travel to a museum or an auction house to find it. It could be right under your nose, in a jar of coins you haven't touched in years. Remember, the 1977 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just copper. It's a symbol of patience, diligence, and the thrill of discovery. Every time you search through change, imagine the life-changing potential waiting for you. Millions of ordinary pennies were minted that year, but only a few hold the secret. And one lucky finder could hold millions in their hands, literally. This is why collectors are obsessed, why stories circulate, and why every coin roll carries the tantalizing possibility of fortune. It's not just about money. It's about uncovering something hidden, something extraordinary, something that makes the ordinary remarkable. And now, as you think about your own coin jars, drawers, or loose change, consider this: amidst all that everyday currency, one small coin could be quietly sitting, waiting for recognition. A coin that could make history, could change a life, could turn a simple moment of curiosity into $1 million discovery. You reach into your pocket change, pull out a shiny penny, and suddenly realize it could be worth $1.5 million. One single coin, hiding in plain sight, capable of turning an ordinary day into a life-changing moment. This isn't fiction. This is the story of the 1969 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has shocked collectors across the United States, and one that could be waiting in your own wallet or drawer. The 1969 penny wasn't special at first glance. Most of them were ordinary, spent in daily transactions, passed from hand to hand without a second thought. But a rare few carry a hidden secret, a flaw that makes them unbelievably valuable. These coins were struck during a tumultuous time at the Denver Mint. Errors in the minting process caused some pennies to be missing the mint mark entirely, a tiny detail, almost invisible to the untrained eye, yet worth millions to the right collector. Imagine a tiny factory mistake creating an instant treasure. That's exactly what happened in 1969. Somewhere along the production line, a handful of pennies were struck without the usual D for Denver. The result? A coin that looks ordinary, yet is one of the most coveted Lincoln pennies in existence. In top condition, these coins have sold at auction for jaw-dropping amounts, up to $1.5 million. A single piece of copper changing lives forever. But how do you know if the penny in your hand is the one that could make you rich? First, check the date. It must be 1969. Next, look for the mint mark, or rather, the absence of one. A normal 1969 penny from Denver will have a tiny D beneath the date. The no mint mark version will have nothing at all. That's the key. And it's subtle. Collectors often need magnification to confirm authenticity because the difference is smaller than a millimeter, yet it determines the difference between a few cents and a life-altering fortune. Now, let's talk condition. Even a rare coin loses value if it's heavily worn. The most valuable 1969 no mint mark pennies are in pristine condition, coins with crisp details on Lincoln's bust and sharp edges around the rim. But here's the twist: even slightly circulated versions can command thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Every penny is a potential treasure, waiting to be recognized. Stories of discovery are almost cinematic. One collector found a 1969 no-mint mark penny buried in a jar of coins that had been untouched for decades. Another stumbled upon it at a local flea market, thinking it was just another piece of copper. In each case, the coin transformed an ordinary life into a story of unimaginable wealth. People who never dreamed of becoming millionaires suddenly became part of an elite circle of collectors. But the thrill isn't just about the money. It's about uncovering history. Each penny tells a story of the mint in 1969, of eras that escaped notice, of a world where ordinary objects hold extraordinary secrets. Holding a 1969 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is like holding a tangible piece of mystery, a secret that survived decades, waiting for the right person to notice it. Attention, collectors, not all 1969 pennies without mint marks are valuable. Counterfeits exist, and subtle differences can make or break the coin's worth. Authentic coins have precise dimensions, consistent copper color, and a perfectly centered date. If you're serious about identifying a potential million-dollar penny, using a professional grader or coin expert is crucial. The difference between a genuine no-mint mark penny and a clever fake could mean the difference between a few dollars and over $1 million. Think about the odds. Out of millions of pennies minted in 1969, only a few carry this hidden secret. You could spend a lifetime checking jars of coins and never find one. Or it could be in your pocket, in a drawer, or tucked away in an old collection inherited from a relative. Every coin has a story, but a 1969 no-mint mark penny carries a story worth millions. Collectors describe the first time they see one as unforgettable. There's disbelief, excitement, and a surge of adrenaline. You're holding something that, for decades, has been quietly waiting, unassuming yet priceless. It's a treasure hidden in plain sight, a reminder that extraordinary luck can appear when you least expect it. And the best part? You don't need to travel the world or spend fortunes to search. Every pocket change, every dusty jar of coins in your home, could hold this secret. Every coin you pick up deserves a careful look, because one small detail, a missing mint mark, could be the key to unlocking a life-changing fortune. So check your coins. Look closely at every 1969 penny. Focus on the mint mark area below the date. Magnify, compare, and if you see nothing, no marking at all, you may be staring at a coin that could sell for $1.5 million or more. The thrill of discovery, the joy of owning a piece of history, and the sheer shock of realizing the value in your hand. That's what makes this penny legendary. This is more than just a coin. It's a story of chance, history, and hidden fortune. It's proof that treasures can be found in the most ordinary places, that ordinary objects can carry extraordinary value, and that one small detail can change everything. Every collector dreams of this moment, finding a coin that could redefine their life. And for some lucky people, that moment has arrived, sometimes decades after the coin was first minted. But to a very few, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, a coin worth $1.6 million. One tiny piece of copper could change a life forever. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare that even seasoned collectors sometimes gasp when they see it. The story begins in 1990, a year like any other. The U.S. Mint produced millions of pennies, each stamped carefully with Abraham Lincoln's image. Most of these pennies are ordinary, forgotten over time. But among them, some were struck with a subtle anomaly. A mistake, an oversight, something barely noticeable to the untrained eye. And that mistake? It's what transforms this common coin into a treasure worth millions. Collectors have long whispered about the 1990 no-mint mark penny. Unlike the Philadelphia coins that typically bear a P mark, these rare pennies carry no mint mark at all. To the casual observer, it seems normal. But experts know that this missing mint mark is a signal. It indicates a penny that escaped standard production protocols, a misprint that's now priceless. Now, think about this. A coin produced over 30 years ago, overlooked, maybe handled by a child, dropped on a sidewalk, or stored in a dusty coin album, quietly waiting to be discovered. That coin, that unassuming penny, could now be worth $1.6 million. Yes, one coin. One small, copper disc that could turn your life upside down if you're the lucky person to find it. So how do you spot it? The first thing is the date, 1990. Next, look closely at the area beneath Lincoln's portrait. There should be a mint mark, D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, but these rare pennies have none. 0. A blank space where a mint mark should be. That blankness is the secret. It's subtle, almost invisible if you're not paying attention, but it's the very thing that makes the coin worth a fortune. But the intrigue doesn't end there. The condition of the coin matters immensely. A worn penny, bent or scratched, won't fetch the same price. Collectors seek coins with sharp details, crisp edges, and a pristine surface. When one of these no-mint mark pennies appears in near-perfect condition, the auctions explode. Bidding wars ignite. People from around the world compete, all desperate to own a piece of history worth millions. Imagine being the person who first recognizes it. Holding it in your hand, knowing that a simple penny, something most people throw in a jar for spare change, could suddenly represent financial freedom beyond your wildest dreams. Many collectors describe it as a rush, a mix of disbelief, excitement, and almost a spiritual connection to history itself. And here's the part that will make your heart race. These pennies are hiding in plain sight. They're in old coin collections, piggy banks, drawers, and boxes. Some have been there for decades, passed down from parents to children, completely unaware of the treasure they held. And now, maybe, one of those coins is yours to discover. To make it even more astonishing, professional grading can amplify its value. A coin in pristine condition, authenticated and graded by experts, can reach astronomical prices at auction. And when a collector spots one of these, it's not just money, it's history, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a story you could tell for generations. But even if you don't find a perfect example, just knowing the signs gives you the power to search. The date, the missing mint mark, the condition, these are your keys. Examine every 1990 penny you come across. Look at it under light, inspect it carefully, and if it's flawless with no mint mark, you might just be holding $1 million coin. Literally. A coin that, when sold to the right collector, could change everything. Think about it, what are the odds? Among millions of pennies minted, a handful survived this anomaly. And surviving decades, tucked away in a drawer, jar, or forgotten wallet, waiting for someone perceptive enough to notice. The suspense, the potential, the sheer thrill of discovery is almost overwhelming. And every coin you examine brings you closer to that life-changing moment. Collectors who have found one describe the experience as surreal. They speak of sleepless nights, calls from auction houses, the anticipation of the final bid. Some coins have sold for prices that could fund a luxurious life, retirement, or dreams that seemed impossible before. And all of it started with a tiny, unassuming penny. This is why every coin you handle matters. You never know when an ordinary day, sorting through pocket change, could turn into an extraordinary event. The 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that treasures can be hiding where you least expect them. It's a testament to patience, observation, and the thrill of the hunt. And above all, it's proof that sometimes, the smallest things can hold the greatest value. So, the next time you dig into that old coin jar, examine each penny closely. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the details, the condition, the subtle cues that separate an ordinary coin from a life-changing discovery. Because among those pennies, history might be waiting for you. The 1994 mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just any penny. At first glance, it looks like the coins you've been passing to cashiers for decades. But one tiny detail, a mint mark barely noticeable to the untrained eye, could make this penny worth $1.70 million. Most people think pennies are worthless. They roll their eyes when they see them in a jar, tossing them aside without a second thought. But the truth is, one single penny can carry the weight of history and fortune. And the 1994 D penny has a story that almost no one knows. It begins in the mid-1990s, when the US Mint struck billions of pennies. Among those ordinary coins, a handful were made with an unusual die error. These errors were subtle, almost invisible. But they created a coin that collectors today would literally pay millions for. Imagine discovering that the coins you've been ignoring for years could hold this secret. The coin's rarity isn't just in the year or the mint mark. It's in a combination of small errors and its survival in near-perfect condition. Over the years, only a few of these pennies have surfaced, and every one has made headlines. Some have sold at auctions for $1.2 million, others have reached astonishing figures, $1.7 million. Each sale seems impossible, almost like a fairy tale. But it's real, and the opportunity is still out there. So, how do you spot this penny? First, look for the small D mint mark under Lincoln's bust on the coin's obverse. It's tiny, but its placement is key. Next, examine the details on Lincoln's shoulder and the lettering on the back. These pennies were struck with slight die anomalies, small but telling markers that distinguish them from ordinary coins. The edges, the spacing of the letters, even the tiniest bumps or doubling can be a sign you're holding a treasure. Many collectors will tell you to check for shine and condition. That's because this penny's value skyrockets when it's in mint or near mint state. Even the slightest wear can reduce its worth by hundreds of thousands. So if you stumble upon one, handle it with care. Every scratch, every fingerprint could cost you millions. Now imagine the excitement, the thrill of uncovering this coin. You might be sitting at your kitchen table, sifting through loose change, when your hand brushes against a cold, coppery penny. Your eyes catch the faint, familiar D, and something in your gut tells you this isn't ordinary. You lean closer, heart racing, and the reality hits. You may have just found $1 million coin. Stories of lucky collectors are everywhere. One woman found a 1994 D mint mark penny tucked inside a forgotten coin jar. She didn't even realize what she had until she brought it to an expert. That single discovery changed her life, turning decades of loose change into a fortune that would have taken most people years to earn. That's the power of a coin that carries both rarity and history in its tiny form. Even more astonishing, the 1994 D penny isn't just valuable for collectors, it's an investment. In the world of rare coins, it's considered a blue-chip treasure. Its scarcity, combined with consistent demand, makes it almost guaranteed to retain and increase its value. One day, a coin like this could be the key to your financial freedom, the kind that leaves people staring in disbelief. And the best part? It's still out there. Forgotten in jars, hidden in drawers, perhaps in a pocket or tucked between old coins in a piggy bank. Every ordinary coin pile has the potential to hide this extraordinary treasure. You might already have one without knowing it. The difference between ordinary and life-changing is just one careful glance, one moment of attention to detail. The story of the 1994 D mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just numbers and letters. It's about hope, patience, and the excitement of discovery. It's proof that incredible fortune can be found in the most unexpected places. You don't need to be wealthy or a professional collector, just observant, curious, and willing to look closely at what others overlook. So the next time you empty your pocket change, don't rush. Examine each coin. Feel its weight, look at its edges, notice the mint mark. That one penny you almost ignored could be worth millions. And when you find it, the world of coin collecting opens up in a way that most can only dream of. But how did a seemingly ordinary penny from 2014 become one of the most sought-after coins in the United States? The story begins with a quiet, almost unnoticed error during production at the Denver Mint. Only a handful of these pennies carry this unusual mark, making them extraordinarily rare. While millions of Lincoln pennies were minted that year, only a tiny fraction were struck with the error that transforms them from common to priceless. Collectors describe finding one as a surreal experience, a heart-stopping moment when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Some have reported discovering these pennies in jars, drawers, even beneath furniture, completely unaware of the fortune they held. Imagine the thrill of realizing the coin you just picked up at the grocery store could be worth $1 million. So, what makes this 2014 D penny so special? It's all in the details. The key lies in the mint mark itself, a small D near the bottom right of the coin. But not all D marks are created equal. On this rare penny, the mint mark is slightly misplaced and doubled, an imperfection that only a few collectors in the world have ever seen. Hold the coin under a bright light and study it carefully. Look for subtle anomalies, doubled edges, slight shifts in the lettering, tiny cracks near the rim. These are the clues that could signal you're holding a true treasure. Some experts warn that spotting this penny requires patience and a keen eye. Many people discard coins without realizing their hidden value. One man recounted how he almost threw away a small stack of pennies, only to discover later that one of them was a 2014 D-era coin worth millions. That split-second decision, that simple moment of curiosity, made him a millionaire overnight. But it's not just the money. Collectors often describe an emotional connection to these coins, a sense of wonder, the feeling of holding a piece of history that almost no one else possesses. Every curve, every tiny imperfection tells a story that begins in a minting machine but ends in the hands of someone who recognizes its true worth. And while the price tag is staggering, it's the thrill of discovery that drives collectors to hunt tirelessly through jars, drawers, and rolls of pennies. Even if you're new to coin collecting, learning to identify a 2014 D penny is possible. Start with a magnifying glass. Examine the mint mark closely and compare it to a standard penny from 2014. Check for inconsistencies in spacing and depth. Inspect the edges for small anomalies that shouldn't exist. Every detail matters. And remember, patience is key. This coin is rare for a reason. It wasn't meant to be found easily. The market for these coins is intense. Stories of sales reaching $1.8 million make headlines, and each sale only increases the allure of this penny. Collectors share photos online, trade tips, and debate over the tiniest differences in markings. Owning one is more than wealth, it's prestige, a badge of honor in the coin collecting world. And while millions of ordinary pennies circulate every year, only a few have the potential to deliver life-changing value. Imagine the suspense of flipping through a roll of pennies and spotting one that doesn't look quite right. Your heart races, your palms sweat. Could it be the one? The 2014 D Lincoln penny with a hidden error that transforms it from a simple coin into a $1 million treasure? That single moment of recognition is why collectors never give up. Every coin you pass by could be hiding unimaginable wealth. And it's not only about spotting the coin, it's about understanding its rarity. The fewer there are, the higher the value. Each misprint, each subtle difference, amplifies the coin's worth exponentially. Some collectors have spent decades hunting for just one, understanding that the odds are low but the payoff could be astronomical. After all, when a coin sells for over $1 million, it's not just a coin, it's a story, a fortune, and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity rolled into one small piece of metal. So the next time you reach for a penny, don't dismiss it. Look closely. Examine the mint mark. Study the edges. Pay attention to details that most people would overlook. Because among the ordinary change in your pocket or wallet, a rare 2014 D penny could be hiding, waiting for someone with the patience and insight to discover it. And the reward? Not just fame in the coin collecting world, but the staggering possibility of a life-changing fortune. But right now, somewhere in the United States, someone is holding a 1981 D Lincoln penny that could change their life forever. A single penny, hiding in plain sight, quietly waiting for its discovery. The story of this penny begins in 1981, when millions of Lincoln cents were minted in Denver. Most of them were ordinary, passing through countless hands without much thought. But a tiny, almost invisible error occurred on a select few coins. Something so subtle, so rare, that it would make them worth a fortune decades later. These pennies are now considered some of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever released. And if you know what to look for, you could spot one in your own collection. What makes this coin so special is a small mint mark anomaly. On certain 1981 D pennies, the D from the Denver Mint appears doubled, slightly shifted, or unusually thick. It's not easy to notice unless you're looking carefully, and that's what makes it a collector's dream. Experts have reported these coins selling for as much as $1.1 million in pristine condition. Yes, a single penny, worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. You might be wondering, how could such an ordinary coin become so valuable? It's a combination of history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. Every coin has a story, and this one traveled quietly through wallets, cash registers, and pockets for decades, completely unnoticed. Its true value remained hidden, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And when that person does, the result is nothing short of extraordinary. To identify this penny, you need to pay attention to the smallest details. First, check the mint mark. Look closely at the letter D on the reverse side of the coin. On the rare, valuable pennies, the D appears doubled or slightly off-center, compared to a normal 1981 D penny. Even under magnification, most coins look identical, but the subtle differences reveal the secret. Next, examine the coin's overall condition. Coins in mint state, with crisp edges and a clean surface, are the ones that fetch the highest prices. The better the condition, the closer you are to holding a potential million-dollar treasure in your hands. Collectors often describe the feeling of discovering one of these pennies as indescribable. Imagine knowing that something you've been casually saving for decades could suddenly transform into a fortune. The emotional impact is powerful: excitement, disbelief, and joy all rolled into one moment. People have reported that seeing one of these coins for the first time felt like finding a hidden key to unimaginable wealth. But it's not just about money. There's a deeper story here, a story of patience, observation, and knowing the value of small things. This coin represents the thrill of discovery, the excitement of uncovering something rare in a world where most treasures remain hidden. Every scratch, every mark, every tiny imperfection tells a story of its journey through time. And that's what makes it more than just a coin, it's a piece of history. Even seasoned collectors admit that the rarity of the 1981 D Lincoln penny catches them off guard. Most people have no idea that a coin they casually handed over at the store could be worth a fortune. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary things are hiding in the most ordinary places. This penny proves that even the smallest objects can hold unimaginable value. Now, let's go back to identifying the coin. Besides the mint mark, examine the fields of the coin, the flat areas around Lincoln's bust. Look for any anomalies, such as doubling or unusual lines that appear almost accidental. The combination of a unique mint mark and a perfect surface is what elevates the penny from ordinary to potentially worth $1 million. And once you spot it, the rest is history waiting to be written. History has shown that these pennies don't stay hidden forever. They appear in collections, estate sales, and even loose change. Some lucky individuals have stumbled upon them entirely by accident, transforming their lives overnight. And now, you have the knowledge to recognize this secret for yourself. Imagine opening a drawer, casually sifting through coins, and suddenly realizing that a single penny could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. Collectors often say there's nothing quite like the moment of discovery. It's a combination of awe and disbelief, a feeling that can't be replicated by anything else. And with the 1981 D Lincoln penny, that moment could be closer than you think. Its rarity, its history, and its staggering market value make it a coin that demands attention and rewards those who are willing to look carefully. So, take a deep breath, slow down, and examine your coins. Look closely at the mint mark, study the details, and imagine the journey of a coin that has survived decades, passing through countless hands until it reaches yours. The thrill of uncovering a hidden treasure is timeless, and the 1981 D Lincoln penny is the ultimate prize. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about discovery, patience, and the joy of uncovering something extraordinary in the everyday. The excitement of realizing that a simple penny could hold the key to $1 million fortune is unlike anything else. And for those who take the time to look, the reward is real, both financially and emotionally. But to the few who know, this tiny copper disc could be the key to a life-changing fortune, over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1994 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, can fetch more than $1 million. And it might be hiding in plain sight, in your pocket, your drawer, or tucked away in a forgotten jar. The story of this penny begins in 1994, a year when most Americans never gave a second thought to the coins in their wallets. Lincoln pennies were everywhere. But one subtle difference set this penny apart: the missing mint mark. While most pennies proudly display a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, the rare 1994 no mint mark coin appears, mysteriously, with nothing. No letter. No clue. Just a plain, unassuming coin. And that missing mark is the key to millions. Collectors have been stunned to find this coin in circulation. Some discovered it in change at a grocery store. Others found it in rolls of pennies from the bank. And every time it appears, it ignites a frenzy. Why? Because its rarity is off the charts. The U.S. Mint only produced an extremely small number of these no mint mark pennies before realizing the error. Each one is a 1 in a million chance, a hidden gem that could turn a mundane collection into a fortune. The emotional thrill of holding this penny in your hand is unlike anything else. Imagine realizing that something you thought was worth a penny could be worth over $1 million. Your pulse quickens, your heart races, and for a moment the world seems to stop. And yet this is real. Documented sales confirm it. Collectors have paid astonishing sums for this exact coin. Some pieces have traded hands for well over $1 million in pristine condition. Now, you might be wondering, how can you identify one of these rare treasures? First, examine the date carefully, 1994. Next, look closely at the mint mark, located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. If the letter D is missing entirely, congratulations, you may be holding a rare find. But be careful, there are counterfeits, so authenticity is critical. Check the coin's weight and color. Genuine 1994 pennies have a specific copper composition and subtle design details. Professionals recommend submitting it to a trusted grading service for verification. Every tiny detail counts. Even the smallest features can make or break a coin's value. Slight imperfections, a flawless strike, or the slightest evidence of wear can determine whether your coin is worth hundreds or millions. And this is where patience and attention to detail pay off. Many collectors spend years learning to spot these subtleties, but the payoff can be life-changing. What makes this penny truly captivating is its mysterious journey. Nobody knows exactly how many exist. Some coins may have slipped into circulation unnoticed, exchanged in everyday transactions, or stashed away in forgotten jars. Others may never be found. That uncertainty, that thrill of the hunt, is what drives collectors to scour every roll of pennies, every coin jar, and every dusty drawer. Every time one of these coins surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. News spreads fast. A 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny has appeared, and it's worth more than $1 million. Suddenly, ordinary people become witnesses to history, holding a piece of the past in their hands. And for those who find one, life can change overnight. But this is more than just a story about money. It's a story about discovery, about patience, and about believing that extraordinary opportunities can hide in the most ordinary places. It's a reminder that sometimes, what seems worthless may be priceless. The thrill of uncovering a rare coin is a feeling few can describe, a mix of awe, disbelief, and pure joy.so. The next time you find a penny, don't dismiss it. Examine it. Study it. Look for details others overlook. Check the date. Check the mint mark. One small decision, a second glance, could reveal a hidden treasure that changes everything. Because in the world of rare coins, the extraordinary is always hiding behind the ordinary, waiting for someone curious, someone patient, someone lucky enough to see it.